onto this little job. I'll explain to you first what it's for. Now, in my work van I have a it's called a Rothenberger Rofrost 28 pipe freezing machine. Now, it works really well, but the only sort of issue is there's no issue with the machine as such. Basically what I'm trying to do is make myself some kind of fail-safe device, because with me working on my own all the time, because I work for myself, when I'm out in the middle of nowhere you've only got yourself to rely on. So what you have to do is you have to make bloody sure that you don't balls anything up. Now, what I'll do, I'll just tell you a little story. A job I did a few weeks ago. I had to go to a farm, and it was a massive, great farmhouse, and it needed 4 28mm or inch gate valves, not gate valves, sorry, full bore lever valves cutting into the pipes. There was 4 pipes running along the wall, about, I don't know, 8 inches apart, running horizontally, and I had to freeze each pipe, cut a section out in the middle and fit a full bore lever valve, and that's the size pipe. Look, so I say it's 28mm for our American friends. What's that? It's inch and an eighth, something like that, inch and a 16th. Now, if you imagine that, shit, I ain't got a length of pipe here. Oh, I've got a bit of wood here. So let's say that piece of wood is a length of copper pipe. Couldn't be any size, doesn't matter. And let's just use that. That's our pretend valve. Yeah, that's not a very good fit, is it? That's our pretend valve. So let's say that's a gate valve or a lever valve. What you can generally do is you can put a clamp this side and a clamp that side of the valve, and these clamps are what's connected to the freeze machine. And for 15mm pipe it takes sort of about 9 minutes to freeze it solid either side. And then what you can do is you can, because you bear in mind either side of this valve there'd be a compression nut, wouldn't there? So if for some reason the pipe hadn't froze, what you would be doing would be undoing one of the compression nuts, and if it hadn't froze you'd soon find out, and then you would just nip the nut back up and then try and figure out why it hasn't froze. And the reasons why it wouldn't freeze is, you know, if you haven't cleaned the pipe up properly on the outside of the pipe, because it wants to be nice and shiny when you freeze them. What else could it be? There could be a load of crap inside the pipe. Well, you're not going to know that because you can't see in it, can you? So what I'm trying to do is to try to make something to cover my arse in case I get to a pipe like the 4 big ones that I did was just 4 lengths of pipe like that, and there was nowhere that I could test to see if the pipes had frozen either side with the 2 clamps until I actually cut it in the middle. Now, the night before I went to do this job, I was laid in bed and I was sort of tossing and turning a bit, and I was thinking to myself, well, if I cock this up and I cut this pipe and it hasn't frozen, I'm going to be in one almighty world of shit, because it's a massive great bloody farmhouse and I'm right at the bottom in a little room outside, so I'm going to have a full head of water coming at me, and it's not the sort of thing that you can stick your finger in the end and hold, because it's too bloody big for a start, and the water flow that will be coming out of it, I would say in that farmhouse the head of tank must be, what's that going to be, 5, it's going to be 7 or 8 metres in the air, maybe 8 metres, so you're going to be getting on 3/4 of a bar of pressure, maybe a little bit more. So anyway, I'm laid in bed on the night before and I'm thinking, oh, I don't really want to freeze this either side. It's a new machine, I don't know anything about it. I have used freeze machines before a few years ago, and I've hired them now and again. Now I've gone and bought myself one. I mean, this is going back a couple of months ago. So anyway, I'm sort of laid in bed thinking what I'm going to do, and I thought, right, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to put my clamps on the pipe. Yep. So I've got one here and one there. It's not showing in that bloody camera very well, is it? So, oh, I'm going the wrong way, that's why. So I've got my 2 clamps on the pipe, and what I did, I found a little self-tapping screw, and I put a little tiny metal washer on it, with the smallest little rubbery sort of washer I could get, or I could find in my van, on the other side. And I found a corresponding drill. I even drilled a little hole in my drill box and tried the self-tapping screw in it to make sure that the drill bit was the right size for the screw. So I thought, right, that's alright. So my idea was, the clamps are on the pipes, yeah? When the allotted time had passed, and I gave it another 10 minutes on top of what it says on the machine, just to be sure, because the freeze machine I've got, you can literally, if you ever needed to, you can have it going all day on the same pipe. You know, it's just going to keep up that temperature, and it's not going to do any damage to anything. So when the allotted time had gone, I got my drill underneath it at a certain angle, because I'm thinking to myself, if it hasn't froze, the water's going to piss out of this little hole. I'm going to stand a builder's bucket down there, and that's going to give me time to turn the water off in the house, and if I have to, undo the drain cock or whatever. But then I thought to myself, if I put this little screw in the hole with the washer on it, maybe that will stop the water. If it stops it altogether, I can then leave the pipes freezing a bit longer and see if that was the issue. However, like I said to you, if it was an issue with shit in the pipe, then there wouldn't be an awful lot I could do. So off I went to do the job. I froze the first pipe, and when the time had passed, I drilled a small hole in the bottom, and it went let a little bit of pressure out, because what you've got to bear in mind is this pipe machine, when it's freezing the 2 blocks of ice in there, the pressure builds in the middle because the ice expands up the pipe. So once that bit of pressure had come out, that made me jump a little bit, because I thought, shit. Because when I've used these freeze machines in the past, I've never worried about it like this. You know, there's always been plenty of people about, and you know, if you got yourself into shit, you'll be alright. But when you're by yourself, that's not the case. So I drilled a little hole. I bet you there wouldn't have been enough water come out to fill that little tub up. In fact, not even a quarter of it. You know, an egg cup full come out, and the water stopped, and I thought, right, and then I started rushing about. I was like, no, don't rush. I'd already got the pipe marked. I cut the section out. I'd got a little bit of movement on the pipes as well, so I dropped my first new valve in, slid the pipes together. I'd already cleaned the pipe up and everything before I cut it. I got my valve there ready with all its sealant and everything inside. Slipped the nuts and olives on, put it together, tightened it all up. Bob's your uncle, found your aunt. And I thought, right, on to the next one. Anyway, I did all 4, and had no problems whatsoever. The job went really well. And then I got to thinking to myself, well, I really need to carry something in this box that will enable me to have a bit of a backup, because I haven't got another pair of hands there because I'm on my own. So my initial sort of plan was to make something along the lines of that shape, and basically what it was going to do, I'm going to fit on the end of this in this pipe cutter. This is just a cheapy generic pipe cutter I bought off eBay for about £8 or whatever it was, and I wanted it with a half moon front face like that. And what I was going to do was, I've got a bit of tractor inner tube here to the side of the bench. I was going to cut a slither of the tractor inner tube, stick it on the inside of there with some epoxy glue. So you can imagine, can't you, when you would go and put that round the pipe. So there's your pipe going across the wall. I've drilled a hole in it. Oh shit, something not right. It hasn't frozen. Right, don't panic. Reach down, grab this out of the box. And like I say, I'm trying to show this one here. Like I say, this would have a half moon piece on it here, and I would literally just screw that in like that. It would push the tractor rubber against there, and it would seal it. And then I could breathe a sigh of relief, and then think, what am I going to do now? But at least that would do it. And then I was thinking about it last night, and what I was thinking was, my machine will freeze pipe up to 28 mil, hence the Rothenberger Rofrost 28 name. but it will also freeze down to 8 and 10 mil, that sort of size. Well, I'm not worried about the 8 and 10 mil, and I'm not really too worried about this 15 mil. For you boys over across the pond, we use 15 mil pipe, you use ½ inch, don't you? So I was thinking to myself, the half moon thing on there, when you go to wind that in, would it have enough radius to actually seal it? You know, to stop the water coming out. Because it's not just the fact that I want to stem the flow, I want to be able to stop it altogether if I can. Because if I can stop it altogether, I've then got the option of moving the clamp to a different part of the pipe and then refreezing it again if I had an issue. Now I don't know whether, you know, with it being a sort of a half moon shape, whether it will seal it enough on there. I'm not explaining myself very well here, but I think you can understand what I'm trying to say. So that would be pushing against it, wouldn't it? No, I can't show it. It's the other way. So anyway, I was thinking about it last night and I thought, shit, what am I going to do? So now what I've decided to try is, I'm going to make this little block. We can get this right around. So as you can see, this little block's going to be 10 mil thick here, 14 mil depth on the height of it, 20 mil long, little block there. That there, on my CAD drawing, as you can see, because I got loads of emails about my last drawing, you know, people asking me where I got it done because the quality was so freaking good and all the rest of it. So that hole in through there is going to be to go through there. So we're going to have a block slot into there, and then on the other end of this block, where it's going to be slightly bigger, now it doesn't want to be a tight fit in here, but it wants to be enough so it's got just a little bit of wiggle room, but not enough that it flops up and down, if that makes sense. So in the end of this block, when it pokes out here by about 15 mil, it'll have another hole drilled in the end, as we see here, look, 6 mil diameter, 6 mil deep. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull my rubber out the pencil. Now, in England, we call these rubbers. Now, I know in the States they're called something, you call a rubber something slightly different, but trust me, there's no need, I've got no need for them type of rubbers in my workshop. You call them an eraser. So, that's going to be my plan, is a little block sticking out there with that rubber embedded about halfway into the block, and I'm hoping that when that pushes to a very small hole in this pipe, that would sort of deform around the hole enough to stop the water flowing. What do you reckon, boys? Am I on a hide into nothing, or will it work? So I found a little block of steel here. We're going to have to have a bit of cleaning up and chop a lump off this first. But that is my plan. So it's not a very big job to do at all. Just a little bit fiddly. While I remember, I just saw the video yesterday that was downloaded of mine making a little blanking plate for my mate for a blanking plug. There's a couple of questions. A few people asking, is it going to back pressure inside and blow it out? Well, no, it won't. The casing that it goes into on the back of this topper, the casing's actually made in two halves and it's bolted together in the middle. Now, it's not actually, the hole in the middle would be perfectly round if the casing was bolted together perfectly square to each side, but it's not. So Paul, the lad I made it for, he told me that it's fitted really well, and he literally just put some sealant around it and tapped it in. But there are a few gaps on it here and there on the rest of the casing where any kind of back pressure would just would come out of there, so it'll never form any. And the other question, my friend Chris, the Badger Man. How you doing, Chris? He mentioned on my video I seem to be dicking about a bit, moving my tool post around when I'm using this particular tool here, This I can't remember, CCMT something or other. Now the reason why I have to do it, Chris, is because I made my tool holders look for the right size tools for my machine, depth wise, because these are 10mm studs. So what happens is, and I could try and pull this tool a bit further forward, is you can see just there, look, where I've already cut the side of the chuck what it wants. When it's set perfectly at 90 degrees to the, or whatever you want to call it, to the spindle of the machine, and you turn in towards the chuck, it's absolutely fine. However, when you want to take a facing cut, this part of the tool holder hits the either the edge of the work, or it'll hit, well, it hits the edge of the work, sorry, that you're turning. That's why you'll see me having to turn it like that. If I was to move this out this way a bit, I could maybe stop it from doing it. But I read what you said. I understand what you meant, and there's the pin that you were on about that goes into the tool post holder to keep it square. But because the way some of my tools are, with the smaller tools than what should be for this machine, it doesn't quite work. It's a little bit misleading on camera sometimes, because the 4-jaw chuck you see me use quite often, that's actually a 10-inch chuck. It never seems to look as big as it is on video, I don't know why. But it's not a massively long lathe, this one of mine, but it is a real chunky little fella, and it's got some go in it. That's why the tool holders are as big as they are, and they're the right size ones for it. Right, enough waffling. Where we got to? Jesus Christ, that's 15 minutes of shite already. 17 minutes even. I'll get a piece of this cut off, and then we'll get it on the milling machine. Hopefully when I've got this block made, I will we'll rig something up outside on the workbench, and we'll connect mains pressure to it, and we'll put a stop end on one end of the pipe, and we'll try it. I'll find a bit of inch pipe out my van and a bit of 15mm. If it works on 15 and 28, then it's going to work on 22, isn't it? So this will be a two-part of this video, and then because I've obviously been talking for too long. Right, off to the milling machine. Right, so too far. First thing I've got to do is take this block down. I'm just going to machine it down to that lip there. Set the knee, and then what I'm going to do, I want to get it about 15mm square. There we're going to that should do. So that's back to 0. So let's try 100 thou to start with. And we'll see where we get to. We'll just bring you in a little bit. You can just kind of see what's going on. Just going steady. take a 5. That 5 thou pass. Just sort of even things out a little bit. Got to keep remembering to be near this bloody camera when I speak. Right, I'm going to go and get my tripod, I think, and then we'll flip this around and clean the other side up. I want this to finish about 15mm thick. I just realised that this machine is an Imperial. And 18.95. So that would be 3.95, wouldn't it? Divided by 25.4. So 155 thou. I want off it. And it should be. Zero over me. We'll take 150 thou off it, and then we'll have a 5 thou clean-up pass. I'll just bring you in a bit. I have ordered a clear lens to go on the end of this camera because I'm a bit concerned about any hot bits flying across and sticking to the lens. It's just a clear lens that I've ordered. Thought it would have been here by now actually. Going to give 5 thou clean-up pass, just taking a little undulation under ridges out of it. Undulation. That's not how you say it, is it? So we're looking for somewhere close to 15mm, nothing's particularly critical on this, as you can see. But we like to get somewhere where we was aiming for, I suppose, don't we? Let's take you back out a little bit. What can I do with... micrometer in my hand a minute ago. How can I lose that? 14.99. I think that's close enough. Right, I'll just turn things around and get it set to machine. Oh, I'll tell you what I was going to do while it was in like that. I'm just going to clean the ends up, or at least one end anyway. I think we'll do that first. That's alright. Right, we'll get it spun around. Right, so we want about 5mm off it to start with. 5mm is 100 knots, so I think we can take 200 thou off it, and that'll be just slightly over the 5, but that'll be alright. So that's 200 thou. That's 200 thou deep. I think that's around about ½ inch end mill, 12 or 13mm, something like that. We're running around 650, 700 RPM. Don't ask me what the feed is, no idea. It's a job to know sometimes how much machining to show, and try not to make I said this will take 2 parts to do this video for this, but really I should imagine by the time I finish there'll be enough film for 3 bloody videos. But do you show all 3 or do you just put it down to 2? I don't know. This is where you might want to cover your ears, because I have a feeling this airline's going to be really noisy through this camera. Let's see what we've got, shall we? We've got 16.02. So 1.02 divided by 25.4 equals 40 thou. The tenth. I don't think we're worried about the tenth. So I'm going to take 35. Was that off and then I'll take 35 off it and then we'll just do a 5 thou clean up first. I suppose really I should have worked that out a bit better, shouldn't I? Instead of just taking 200, I should have took 235 and then I've had one less pass. Five thou clean up. Clever. Right, so we're looking for somewhere, well, we're looking for about 15 mil roughly. So 1502 that way. 1507 that way. Which is more than enough for what we're going to do. Right, I'll have to just have a look and see what I'm going to do next. So we'll have a look and then be back in a minute. Okay, I'll tell you, since I did this vice and did these thrust bearings, got it done half nip up well now. Right, so we've got to go down a total of 787 thou, 20 mil. It's 15 mil wide at the moment, and I want it 10 at that depth. So what we're going to do is just come and kiss it. Just till we're touching. Take it to 14 mil. No, I'm not going to take it to 13.5 on the. And then I'm going to take it the same on the other side, on this side, and then take a measure and see where we are. I forgot to say I did find centre with the edge finder. For some reason the camera's losing signal to the iPad. I think it's because the battery's gone. I'll have to change the battery. Right, we lost connection then. The battery went in the camera. So I want this bit here to finish at 10 mil. Use this instead of the very near, I think. 13.1. So 13.1 minus 10 equals that, divide that by 2. I want 1.55 mil off each side. So I think what I'm going to do is cut that to 14 and a half. Sorry, 12 and a half. And we'll have another go. It looks clear on the iPad, we'll see what it looks like on the computer. .12. Minus 10 equals 1.12, divide that by 2. And that's 0.56 of a mil off each side. So we went to 12.5, didn't we? So if I take this down to 12 now. And then all I've got to do is take a 0.6mm clean-up cut, isn't it? 0.06. So we've got to go down 787 thou. We're down to 400 thou now. So when I've done the other side, I'm just going to drop down in 100 thou increments so we don't put too much side pressure on the footing. And then when we get to the bottom, I'm going to wind it back in 0.06, and that should be where we need to finish. I hope you're following me, because I'm having a job to follow myself. This is where people are watching your videos and shouting at the screen, why didn't you do it like this? It would have been easier. This should be about 10.11, 10.12, something like that. 10.12. Right, so I went down 400. That'll be 5. We'll take it down 200 thou. So we're down to 600 thou now. If I go back into there, come back out to my 12. Which is there. I'm not going to spend too much time titting around with it, trying to make it look something that it isn't. Once I've tested it, if it works, then I might just run a corner around in end mill around a few of the edges just to tidy things up a bit. That's 12 that side. Batteries don't last long on this camera. I'm on the second one now. Back to the 12. Now I want to be up 2 more. One. Actually, I don't do that because that's 800 thou. That's 700. So 787. So we'll take that down to 80. So we'll be 7 thou off our finished jet and 0.06 of a mil off our wick. I don't like using both measurements, is it? doing it like this so it doesn't get pushed over one way or the other, and up to now everything seems to be going alright. Right, so this now wants to be at 11, 9, 4. 11, 9, 4. Bring it up that last 7th out. Some oil. This should take a clean up from top to bottom. And the tiniest amount off the bottom edge. Pass here. 11, 9, 4. Now, if I'm anything like close, it should fit on there. Whether my measurements might be a bit keen, I don't know. Find out in a second. So that there, can you see that? Yeah, that slot there should drop over the top of it. Oh, and it doesn't. Oh, it does. Oh, that's alright. I said I didn't want it sloppy, didn't I? Right, so what do we need now? We need a hole in the other end and we need a hole through there. So let's just have a look at that, shall we? Oh yeah, there's a few burrs and rags and things to come off here. But, so that's all it's going to be. Look, it's going to slot into there like so. I'll tell you what, I didn't do bad there, did I? See that? Maybe not. Yeah, it's gone in, made a treat that. So we've got a hole to put through there, and then hopefully when I wind that back it should go all the way. Yeah, that's about right. And then we're going to put a small hole in the end there to stick our rubber in, or our eraser. But I would imagine that we're well over time on this video now, so I think we'll call it a day for the time being, and then hopefully in the next video we'll get the 2 little holes drilled and we'll get some sort of a demo thing set up outside, and we'll see if it'll work. Hope so. Well, saying I hope so, I hope I never bloody need it. So anyway, we'll see you next time, boys and girls.